The new Flat Rate Podcast.
The new Flat Rate!
For contractors ready to boost tickets, simplify business, and gain freedom. Today we sat down with Josh Teekell, the founder of Smart AC, and now your host, Matt Cope.
All right, there you have it, everybody. Hey, welcome to the New Flat Rate Podcast. I'm your host today, Matt Cope, one of the founders and vice presidents of the New Flat Rate out of Dalton, Georgia, a international training company and menu-based pricing app that focuses on keeping your families together by making contracting profitable through our automated presentation systems. Today, I wanted to bring to light our guest. We've got Mr. Josh Teekell here. Did I say that right? Teekell, sorry. I knew I was going to get it wrong. There we go. Josh Teekell here. And Josh is actually the founder of Smart AC. So Josh, big welcome. Warm round of applause, my friend. So Josh, tell us, instead of me just reading your bio, why don't you tell us why you're here today? What can we chat about?
So my background was as a contractor before, selling to Mr. and Mrs. Jones, built a, $40-50 million company doing that before getting into tech. And now I lead the team of around 50 here at smartac.com, focused really on helping contractors acquire and retain more ongoing relationships with customers, with homeowners. So excited to put to work a lot of the experience I had in my first company with helping contractors in this area of membership specifically.
That's awesome, and I'm glad you have that experience in the field already. A lot of manufacturers and stuff didn't. They just like guy that hired out of college or whatever. Today for all of our viewers, the topic that Josh and I are going to be talking about, and we wanted to kind of have a candid approach here in a chat to bring you some resources that can really help you. The topic is really the maintenance department and your service agreement programs, and how to take your maintenance department and some tips and tricks and how to make it a little bit more profitable, but not only more profitable by itself, but maybe also some ways to get more opportunity out of it, a little bit more demand service calls to make sure that when the customer does have a problem, nothing in their mind says, I got to go to Google and find somebody. We got to make sure that you're the one that gets the call. So Josh, just question, you're in the industry, you're running, probably some trade shows here and there, hearing from contractors, you got a lot of members that are contractors. And so in which case, what are some of the struggles that maybe you've heard that they're dealing with today before we dive into how we're going to help them?
So I would say the two main KPIs that we focus on and that seem to be a focus from our clients as well is like you mentioned a minute ago, just selling more memberships. Obviously, there's different strategies. You can have the CSRs pitching them over the phone. You can have purely the tech selling them. Many of our clients do both, and I think that's probably optimal. So really just getting, when you pay $200 or $300 for a lead and you're, in front of that homeowner the first time, if it's not ready to be a big ticket item today, how do we make sure that we get that opportunity when it eventually is, right? And for decades, that's been memberships. We think it was an elegant solution at the time, still works today, but everything we do is try to boost those KPIs to make it work better. So acquisition of memberships would be the first thing. And then really retention. We see a lot of clients that have great conversion rates, but atrocious churn, right? I said that wrong, but a lot of churn. And so really like the key is making sure you message the right things to the client about why they're signing up for the membership. Make sure it's not just for a day one discount that they, don't have after day one and cancel 6 months later. And then nurture that relationship as well as you can, right? If it's a couple of visits a year in person, how are you doing the best job you can? If it's using technology like ours to have more of a year-round value, how do you nurture that remotely? But at the end of the day, it's all about homes under management. And if you can dramatically increase your conversion and your retention, then fast forwarding 3 or 4 years, you just have a lot more customers, homes under management, which leads to the numbers game of, the people that need a big ticket item at 8 to 10% a year. And that's really what drives the P&L.
That's great info. And, you said something that brings up a topic I would like us to bounce off each other. But for the record, for all the viewers and listeners, Matt and the new flat rate, sometimes we get there's a rumor, if you will, that we don't always like maintenance agreements. And Josh, it's the darn rumor. It's like somebody was playing the telephone game, and somebody said, "Well, Matt doesn't like service agreements." Couldn't be further from the truth. I'm a huge promoter. As a service technician for the last 25 years being in the industry, my conversion rate on them is absolutely amazing as well. So I believe in them. I move them. But when it comes to maintenance programs, what I don't like is I can't stand losing money.
Yeah.
And I've found that a lot of times I believe that the profitability of one single maintenance, like let's just take not the one maintenance, but the one maintenance agreement, the profitability of that maintenance agreement, the relationship with that customer, a lot of it has to do with something you just said. And that's how were they signed up? Was it
Yep.
signed up the right way?
Yep.
And so maybe we can talk about some different tips and different points of views. And for all of our viewers, Josh and I think we're in line in a lot of things, but I guarantee you he has some ideas that are different than I do, and I have some that are different than him. And so can we agree to have a little bit of a conversation and look at it from two different ways here?
Sure.
So here's a thought. So when it comes to signing up maintenance programs, you mentioned something that a lot of our industry has been taught to sign customers up based on a discount. Like
Yeah.
sign up today and you save money.
Yeah.
And I remember watching an episode of Bar Rescue one time with John Tapper, and he said, you got to be careful with discounts because he says people become addicted to discounts, but not in a good way. They become this addicted and entitled that changes their focus to where that's the only reason they ever want to do business with you. And at the moment that it's not discounted to their level of liking, the answer is just no, I'm going to go find somebody else. What's your thought process, Josh, of what you've seen on the discount model up front?
So I would say in general, as a rule, the people that have the highest churn on memberships are because it's a combination of either one of two things. One, they signed up for the wrong reason, and I do think that's the main one. Or
Yep.
two, they're not seeing enough value from the plan. It's a combination of both, right? And so I think discounts can be used to prod, but at the end of the day, like if that ends up being the reason they signed up, they're just not going to stay with the plan. Now, potentially, they could sign up for it for the discount, and then you show them so much value in the plan afterwards that they hadn't actually thought they would stick with it, and they do. So
Yep.
there's a potential that you're winning an opportunity to show the value of your plan. But at the end of the day, we have constructed things in our platform to try to use some of the same psychology but decouple it from the reason why people churn, right? So we have like a loyalty rewards in our platform that they can only apply to the next big thing in the future, right? And so it's
Right.
giving them that day one thing, but it's letting them apply it in the future, which means they can only do it if they stay loyal to you. So I think it's all in how you structure and how you set up the incentives. Everything we do, and really my favorite thing about my job, is looking at the homeowner psychology. And the key with any membership program is you need to understand how the homeowners are going to receive the information you're giving them, how they're going to think about it now, how they're going to think about it in a year, 2 years, 5 years, to understand so you can reverse engineer your offering and your messaging around accomplishing your goal, which of course is stickiness. So I think it's mostly just not a holistic long-term thinking on the strategy that drives some of those things. And of course, them signing up day one and you paying a commission on it, let's say, to your team, and then having them cancel 6 months later is like the worst of all scenarios.
Yep.
So it's key that you just craft the membership to accomplish your goals thoughtfully. And that's really when I get on a call with our clients, especially the larger ones, that's really where we spend our most time.
It's funny. I thought we were going to disagree on more of that, but I'm with you. That's great information. outside of there, when you're talking about the, discount up front, I loved how you said you're going to allow them to apply it towards the future. It reminded me of, I've fell into a really bad habit of Starbucks coffee, but after spending only $200 on coffee, I got my first free cup last week. It was really
Yeah.
great. Felt a lot. I worked hard for that. Um, but so on this idea, that's kind of the placement I'm at, is the fact that when it comes to discounting up front and people buy it because today they save,
Yep.
it comes down to that the value of something free is zero. And they didn't really care about it. But also, I believe there's a bunch of people, Josh, that they just didn't even know what they bought. Like
I
they
agree.
literally, it's check that box and you save $300. They're like, okay, there we go.
Agree. Yep.
Um, and like, how many times have we accidentally even signed up for a subscription on Amazon because we clicked the box that we're like, oh, this one's cheaper, and we weren't even paying attention. But then once you realize it, you're like, oh, I got to cancel that.
Yep.
And so same thing going on. But when it comes to signing up with this discount mentality, you used a word. And so just for all of our listeners, I wanted to clarify it because I didn't know what the word meant when I came into the world of big business, because as a service technician, we don't really usually have a super high business acumen. And the word was churn.
Yeah.
And we use that all the time now. And just for our listeners, the word churn means ultimately the percentage of people that are leaving. It's that attrition level. And so the percentage of our members that are leaving every year. And Josh, I don't know what you've seen outside of the members that use Smart AC to help maintain these customers. What do you think that the average churn in that discount model is today?
So I've seen as low or as high churn of cancellations of 45% a year.
Holy cow.
And I've seen some companies doing a really great job at 10 or 15% a year. That's generally the spread. That is it's a twofold thing about acquiring and retaining, right? And we're the biggest stat that we are proud of at Smart AC is 96%. That's the average in almost now 200 companies across the country in 41 states, I believe. And that is the amount of when they sign up for your Smart Maintenance membership, how many are still on it a year later? It's annual churn, right? So a couple of years later, you would expect that to be 92, 93% and therefore, but that's what we've seen, but it's pretty normal. I would imagine the average is 20 to 25% a year attrition, if I had to guess.
Which means a 92+% retention is freaking amazing.
Yeah, 96. Yeah, you're shortchanging me. Yeah, 90.
Well, you dropped it down to 92
a
couple years in.
2 year.
Okay.
Yeah.
So 96 in 1 year. That's still really amazing. So great job on that. And I wanted to bring to light, and the reason for that is I'm on a quest for all of you that don't know me. I'm a trainer, and I train thousands of technicians a year. And the focus that I've had over the last couple of years has really been based around what is value.
Yeah.
Because that's really where we miss it in the industry, is we don't ever actually equate value. We just sell parts and pieces, and we don't equate value to people. And I finally realized that value is an experience, not a price. And so when we come in here and we look at discounting to sell something, the focus is the price. And so when we look back at like my company, our home service company's success and our retention rate was very, very high on maintenance because we didn't discount to sell it. And the reason we didn't do it is we believe that preventative maintenance is very, very important. And so we wanted customers to sign up on the basis that preventative maintenance is a good thing. And as long as they did that, then when we were going out there, their focus wasn't how much did I save today? Their focus was, what did you do to help me protect my investment today? And it was all about that value we delivered. And it's so much easier. So let's carry that forward a little bit and dive into. So there's this issue in the industry where if we're selling maintenances the right way based on the value of the fact that maintenance is a good thing, we have a higher retention. If we have a higher retention of these memberships, then we can multiply so many memberships equals so many millions of dollars for these contractors. And kind of a side note there, with the new flat rate systems where we show multiple options to customers, we've got companies that are able to hit the last one I ran, that was kind of one of our record ones, was out of every 400 memberships that they had equaled $1 million a year. And so, which is really, really good. Industry kind of average was 1,000 memberships per million for the longest, but we've able to get that down to as much as 1 million every 400. And so if you want to grow, you want to be profitable, there's definitely a good key in there between having options available. But now, Josh, you're here today too because you're Smart AC, and you specifically helped design and developed a product that helps make the membership more valuable at the same time, plus improve their retention. Why don't you tell us a little bit about that?
Yes, sure. So, from a high level, everything we try to do, like I said, is acquisition and retention. And the second kind of step of that is how do we, like you just said, how do we boost the value of the core plan? So, option one is try to sell them on a plan that includes the annual preventative maintenance, right? That could be 2 visits a year, that could be 1 visit a year. But at the end of the day, we want to bolster the value of those plans with remote value. So, even if you go out two times a year, realistically, they are only getting value out of the plan 2 days a year. So by having 24/7, 365 health monitoring of their HVAC and plumbing equipment, and then allowing the software to streamline all of their interaction with the contractor, it allows them to have both a combination of more value throughout the year, monthly reporting and virtual visit videos and that type of value, but then also the experience side you said of allowing them to get the loyalty rewards and the direct scheduling and video chat with the contractor for anything they need. It's basically how can we make it the best possible experience. So that helps their core plan. But then also, like you said, different customers value different things. And I think probably the most important thing that we can do for clients is help them attack a different buying persona. Traditionally, that's been 20 or 30% that have signed up for plans. If you're an HVAC tech selling 35% of the homes you walk into a plan, you are next level, right? The
Right.
problem is that is leaving behind the other buying personas that aren't willing to pay $30 a month. And so
Right.
by allowing different types of offerings with technology only, where the client says, hey, I don't want you to come out until the data says something's needed, or even a software engagement through an app that allows you to be able to still check a box in the homeowner's mind that this is my company.
Mhm.
Those allow you to give every customer an experience of their choosing that is in line with whatever type of engagement monetarily they want with you, or just type of engagement physically they want with you. Maybe they don't want to have to have somebody in the house multiple times a year or turn down a IEQ multiple times a year or whatever it is, right? So sometimes the retention is a function of how much you ask from the customer. And if
Mhm.
people don't want you out multiple times a year, how do you make your business able to acquire a different type of relationship when the homeowner prefers that type?
It's interesting. I like what you said about it's not about how many visits, it's about the fact that the value only comes with the visit. You
Correct.
know, traditionally, not with you, is like when you're there, yeah, sure, there's value, but how many of us had an interaction with somebody in our life, a week or 2 or 3 weeks ago that was really awesome and really valuable, but then you went
Yep.
home and you slept and you forgot half of it. You're like, God, what did we even talk about?
Well,
You know?
on a traditional 2 visit plan, when you're with no technology, best case scenario, they see more value 6 months later in person. So you have to get through this like dearth of no value from the time they walked away from the house
Hmm.
versus until the time you're there next, right? And
Yep.
then maybe you give them a great experience that day, and then you have to still get through another 6 month valley, right? And so it's
Yep.
never top of mind present. Your brand's not present, and they're not actually getting value day to day. And so that's really
Hmm.
one of the biggest reasons why I believe the retention is so high. through our platform, or really through any type methodology where you can give them value remotely, just because it's more present and they feel it more often than twice a year.
Great point. And also, as you're talking, I realize that not everybody on this call is going to know that much about your products and services. So we'll put a link and a video and stuff for everybody to learn more about Smart AC. But outside of that, some of the basics. So Smart AC uses some sensors.
Yeah.
And then also a platform that interacts with the customer. If you gave
Yeah.
us the high level on that, what are we
Yeah.
looking for?
Yeah, so the high level on what we do at smartac.com is nurturing that relationship remotely, but we do that with sensors that deploy to understand how well the system is heating and cooling for every cycle all year long. We deploy water sensors to understand drain lines or water heater drain pans or things of that nature. And so to give the customer value remotely, you have to be letting them know how things are going at their house, right? And that can be them looking at the data in their app if they want. It can be the reports that are going to them with your brand, white labeled. And then, of course, the app relationship really just curates that engagement and that customer experience piece. But that's what we do at Smart AC.
Does it tell them to replace their air filter before it messes things up?
We do, yeah. So we measure the pressure change in the ductwork through the filter to be able to quantify that. And we've actually seen the benefit to the contractor of people that use the platform for air filters stay way more sticky to the overall plans, because it's the one thing they kind of have to do themselves, and it makes it easy. So yeah, it's really just like any good maintenance plan is going to be thinking, if I were a homeowner, what would I want? What would make my life easier? And then trying to give them those things.
I just it's a side note, but I think it benefits everybody. I took a phone call last night from a business mentor friend of mine, and he said that he was curious as to what research has been done in the world of how many homeowners are actually proactive focused and try their best. Doesn't mean they always succeed, but actually try to proactively take care of things in their home before it goes wrong and breaks. And so he did some research through AI to kind of scour the world and all the tests and compile them. And what he found was the answer was that he found was 67%. He said 67. It was higher than I thought. He said 67% of homeowners say that they try their best to proactively maintain all of the things they own. And it's funny, Josh, because I've been talking to some of our contractor members that use the new flat rate over the last few years and telling them, customers that are on our maintenance plan, they're actually our most profitable customers because they proactively spend the most money if you give them the opportunity to. And one of the contractors ran a ton of reports in his company, and he came back to me and he said, "Holy cow, Matt," he says, "you're not kidding." He says, "We make over twice the money off of maintenance customers than we do off of non-maintenance customers." And I think that's important for everybody to hear, because what we're talking about is, let's just call it an automobile. In the world of an automobile, these people are driving down the road and their check engine light comes on their car and says, "Hey, you got a problem." But so many of us think that means something's broke. But in reality, in the automobile, it's telling you that it's going to be broke most of the time. Like if you don't change your oil now, you're going to change your engine later. If you don't, fix the timing issue now, you're going to blow all your spark plugs, whatever it is. And so, but the moment the check engine light comes on, what does the driver do? They start planning, how do I get it to the dealership, right? And then whatever the mechanic says, they just get it taken care of, even if it hasn't broken yet. So, but what I've been saying for years, the problem with heating and air conditioning in the home service industry is 99% of the heating and air conditioning units out there today don't have a check engine light. And so what I'm hearing from you is that Smart AC has ultimately developed a check engine light that not only gives tips and tricks to our customer base on how they can maintain their stuff and do what they're supposed to do so it doesn't waste our time. But at the same time, it warns them even before it breaks down and they walk in and it's hot in their house. It says, oh, you got a problem. It's advancing. You need to go ahead and call this company to get it taken care of right away. So you've built the check engine light for the industry.
Yeah, I mean, I think at the end of the day, it's still the same value. The reason people would do preventative maintenance is to not have that outage, like that breakdown.
Mhm.
And so, yeah, what we're doing is we're allowing them to be proactive in solving small problems before they spiral into more costly things, right?
Mhm.
And at the end of the day, if I told an HVAC company, look, you're going to replace every system when it's 12 years old, or you're going to replace half of systems when they're 11 years old, which would you want, right? And so at the end of the day, if you can give them a better overall experience over time by trying to avoid loss of comfort, because using that data and calling their attention to it when something is trending downwards, then you are giving them the peace of mind and the system efficiency and elongation that they're going for with a preventative maintenance. It's another tool to be able to maximize that peace of mind, certainly, but then also the longevity of the equipment and the ideally avoiding loss of comfort. So that's what we do. So we have urgent alerts that something's like broken now or it's about to break in the next 24 or 48 hours and they're going to lose comfort. We have what we call proactive alerts, which is where if you're having a slow day, you can sort through all of your customers, find the worst performing 5 systems, and then reach out to them to fill your board, is what we call it for
Oh, wow.
technicians. And then we have what we call scheduled maintenance, which is just using the software to not have to have your CSRs do as much outbounding, where they can book right through the app, flowing through Service Titan or soon to be other FSMs as well. So yeah, I think that is really kind of what you're trying to do is give them the best experience and allowing them to be proactive if they want to handle it in that way.
Because most of the ones that sign up for a maintenance program, especially when they sign up the right way,
Yep,
that's
that's
what they
right.
want.
Yep.
You know, and we train on that heavily, Josh. We train on, what does a homeowner go through in the moment of something breaking, and it's a crisis.
It is. Yeah, you're right.
Like, it disrupts their whole life, it disrupts their relationships, it disrupts their job, it disrupts a lot of things, and they end up with a lot of them even an anxiety level. I'll talk with a lot of techs that they're like, man, I went on a job yesterday and this customer started crying when I was talking to him, and I'm like, why? It's not because of what you were saying, it's
Yeah.
because of how it's disrupting their world.
Hmm.
And so we're bringing yet another opportunity here to help our customers live a more peaceful life. And sometimes, some people might look at it and say, well, no, that's just going to be another thing I got to do. Well, then be one of those persons. But what we know is just by that research we just did, 67% of homeowners would rather have it than not.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that makes sense. I think our goal is to allow contractors to improve the lives of not only that 25% that are signing up for plans, but also improve the lives of the people that aren't signing up for plans, right? And that's where the lower cost monitoring only offering can work, and where even if somebody isn't going to have you come out to the house ever, doesn't want to pay for something monthly, at some point they're going to need the next thing, and we
Yep.
want to win that opportunity. And so even just allowing them to accrue some loyalty rewards and schedule with you better next time is still helping that customer, whether it's 1 month or 4 years later. It's saying next time you have a burning urgent need, we're here
Mhm.
for you. And that's the only brand promise you could really make to a homeowner.
Well, and how much money would it cost us in marketing to buy a new customer?
No doubt. A lot, a
So,
lot, a lot more. I mean, there's a lot of our clients know how many of their existing members Google their brand online, click on the ad, and they pay $300 or $400 again for them. So being able to book through the website, or in our case through the app, obviously really can have the benefit of reducing your overall ad spend as well, giving them that direct channel.
What about so you mentioned that a few times, some people just want the monitoring and don't want the maintenance. And I've seen that over the years. Like I actively signed up over 45% of customers I went to on the maintenance programs. But when it came to the ones that didn't buy,
Mhm.
some of them are just like, I don't want one. I don't buy that kind of stuff. And so I'm curious, what are a lot of companies? I mean, you don't have to be perfect, but just like a range. What are most companies charging if all a customer wanted was monitoring? Are they covering it in-house, or are they just are
Yeah,
they just doing that?
so you pointed out earlier that many clients have maintenance agreements that are somewhat of a loss leader, right? And
Sometimes.
in aggregate, it makes sense because if you own the home for HVAC, maybe plumbing or otherwise, you're going to make up that loss leader over time, right? So it makes sense. Now
Sure.
you want to limit the loss leader. I agree with you. You don't want to be like hemorrhaging money, but it does pencil. That's why the biggest companies have used that for a long time, right? So when you're thinking about a monitoring only as a lower cost offering, the goal of most of our clients, most, is just to break even on the proposition. You're going to a house with a tech and a truck and overhead and scheduling and all this stuff twice a year just to try to break even on that so that you
Right.
can keep the customer. So if you can not have to go to the house twice a year, literally never go back until there's demand, and you know when that demand is from the data, and so does the homeowner, that's quite the efficient system, right?
Right.
If you can tack on hundreds or thousands of other customers where you will get the demand call and you don't have to physically do anything to keep that opportunity,
Hmm.
and you're breaking even on the proposition, that's incredible, right? And so most of them are at 10, 8, 10, 8, 5. Some people are okay with losing a bit of money because they want to optimize for conversion, right? And so
And it
it's just a function of how aggressive they want to be to grab and retain more homes.
so for a lot of them, then they're just ultimately putting their ad spend to that. They're saying, I'm going to pay $10 a month towards
Well,
maintaining this
no, to
customer.
no, well, to clarify, the customer would be paying $10, so they're breaking even on it monthly, and then they're just getting the demand calls. But certainly, we've had some clients that are like, "Look, I've run the math, and I know how much my average member spends annually for HVAC, plumbing, electrical, and it
Hmm.
makes sense for me to subsidize this," right? So we do have some of
Right.
those, but most of the time, I agree with you. If something's free, it's not really valued very much, and the amount of overall value, especially when you incorporate in some of the loyalty rewards accruing over time, you can make it to where you charge the homeowner $10 a month, but you give
Right.
them a $10 credit every month towards their next big thing, and it's kind of free
Sure.
after rebates. So there's some different ways of doing that. But at the end of the day, you just, how aggressive do you want to be to grab a home? How valuable is that home to you, depending on how many trades you offer or how many systems they have at their home or things of that nature.
Cool. Cool. Well, hey, I hope that this has been valuable for everybody. There's some great insight. Josh's program and products are definitely revolutionary for the industry and gonna continue to climb and grow, and we'll probably see them in every home before long. But as we kind of begin to close down this session, one question, and just a personal opinion even. Do you feel like members could be more profitable for a maintenance, I mean, for a home service company, their members, their maintenance customers could be more profitable with less visits, like if they did one visit a year instead of two visits a year?
Well, that answer is absolutely yes. We run the numbers on that with many large private equity groups, tens of thousands of homes. And yes, it makes sense to go to the house twice a year in aggregate. But also, when you look at the data, only about 15% of the non demand calls generate all of the revenue, right? And so, what we try to do is we try to, to use the analogy, I always say if you're floating down a river fly fishing or something and there's 10 rocks and you're going to cast behind all 10 rocks, well, there's only fish behind 3 rocks, right? And so
Mhm.
what the data enables is to know which rocks have fish behind them, which homeowners have a need, and then you just cast behind the 3 rocks, right? And it doesn't mean you're going to catch a fish every time. You have to present the fly right. You have to go and run the right appointment at the house and get the
Yep.
revenue, but you can save a lot by, even if we can tell you 5 of the 10 rocks that don't have fish behind them, right? And so that's
Mhm.
what our data does. So because of that, yes, you can guarantee the homeowner we're going to be there once a year to do all the physical things, and then we're going to look at the data together. And if you need another cast, if you need us to come out another time because something's needed, we won't charge you for that visit. But if
Sure.
everything's great, we're not going to make you take off part of a day of work to meet with us. And so it's having your cake and eating it too. What we've proven is that your average revenue per customer, per member, per year is effectively the same going once versus going twice when
Yep.
you use the data to make sure that you know where to go more than once, right? And
Yep.
that's really all we try to say. Look, going to the house was twice a year was the right thing for decades. It is suboptimal now. Now it's a
Yep.
little different if you can cross sell other trades and to have one HVAC, one plumbing. I think that makes sense. But in general, for HVAC specifically, one visit a year and then using the data to be targeted with more is certainly the most economical way.
That's funny how you said that. You know, those are fighting words to some business owners, though, so we got to be careful. But just for the record, for everybody that just listened to what Josh said and about the fact that it can actually be more profitable to go less, just for the fact that it could be the same amount of money.
It's the
Um,
same amount of revenue, just
yeah.
less costs.
Yeah,
Yes.
and that's what we saw in our company. So when we went from twice a year to once a year, our average ticket doubled, but it's
Exactly.
because we were only going half the times.
That's right.
And
Exactly.
but the way you do it, just for the record, a little bit of training here, the way you do it is you have to stop and you got to rethink, what are we going to do on the visit? Because I get some guys that say, well, but I can't go when it's 100 degrees. If you're running maintenances when it's 100 degrees, something's wrong.
That's right.
Like we gotta be out on the money calls at that time. And so yeah, you might have a couple of guys that do it a year round because we're training some techs or whatever, and that's okay. But the thing is when you go from twice a year to once a year, you literally double the amount of maintenance customers that you can have with your same maintenance team.
Exactly.
And so it
right.
opens up so many opportunities. And just one tip that we did to make it all work is we stopped checking refrigerant on maintenances. And so because there's certain times that you can check it and it's not right. So instead, we just had to get better at checking temperatures inside and saying, hey, as long as it's within this range, it should still be good. If it's outside of this range, let's book a maintenance not a maintenance, let's book another service call, as you will, for when it warms up or whatever that is.
It's a closed system. Jim Bergman's been preaching that from the mountaintops for years. There's no reason to be tying into that. And agree, different places in the country, there could be slightly different strategies on what you have to do when you're there. But I would encourage everyone to at least, look at your data. Find out when you go twice, how often do you sell something more than once? And that data says almost never. And so make sure you get one solid swing per year with the customer there so you can have that opportunity. But the second one, it is wasteful and the homeowners don't want it if things are good at the house.
Because it wastes their time.
Of course it does. Of course it does.
We got to remember that. Well, hey, Josh, this was absolutely great information. And so just for all the listeners here, remember, I'm Matt with the New Flat Rate. Feel free to check us out at thenewflatrate.com. If you've never seen our stuff, feel free to book a demo at any time by clicking get demos. We do demos most every single day now, where you can go through, touch it, feel it, see what we do and how we help keep your families together by making business profitable. Josh, as we leave, final words, wisdom, what will you leave us with?
If you want to check out smartac.com, you know where to find us at smartac.com. And I really think the main takeaway that I have in most conversations is just having a focus on homeowner psychology, what the customer experience that you want to curate is, and think about it from the homeowner's perspective, and then try to craft a strategy and a membership that meets those needs specifically.
Awesome. Thank you so much and for joining us today. And as we close out, just for everybody, check the links or the comments and stuff for the links to Josh's company. And make sure you tell them that you heard about Smart AC here at the New Flat Rate podcast. So again, thank you for your time and we'll see you next time.
If you want to learn more about the New Flat Rate, go to thenewflatrate.com. Lastly, if you want to learn more about Smart AC, go to smartac.com.